Hello and welcome to Pixel Aquarium. It's been a pretty long time, and I actually haven't been doing a lot of pixel art recently. Instead, I have been doing oil paintings. I've sort of switched from doing pixel art to doing oil paintings because it's nice to get away from the computer sometimes. These days, I'm just less interested in digital art, especially with the rise of AI. So it's nice to get away from the computer and just work on something that's in the real world. This is the first piece that I made. It's an Allen's hummingbird. I saw this bird, actually, this is based on a photograph. Saw this bird in Southern California in April, and I can put the photo up on screen. I thought it was a really beautiful photo and a really beautiful bird, so I painted it. You can see in my early oil painting phase, I was really layering on the paint quite thick. I really like doing these textured bits here. You can see the, maybe you can't, I don't know, there's like, really put on some thick paint right there, and there, just to give it some texture. So yeah, this was my first piece. I was decently happy with how it turned out. And that sort of gave me the inspiration to keep going. I actually started doing oil painting because I was introduced to it by my wife, and she does some really nice oil paintings of birds as well. So, of course, I had to try painting a fish. I'm not 100% sure if I like how this one turned out. For a second try, I think, it's decent. I really like what I did with the background. The gradient in the background, I think, is quite nice. But the fish itself is one, it's kind of off-center, and two, I don't know, I just could have done a better job with the color and the shading and the overall form. Of course, I usually love to draw ocean sunfish, and it was fun to make, so yeah, that was my second painting. Let's move on to the third one here. So this one is a painting of the island of New Zealand from space. I originally made it, I wanted to make a video where I used this map to illustrate my journey through New Zealand, but I still haven't made that video. It's not really a traditional painting in any sense, so I'm not sure if it really counts in how I worked on my technique or anything. I mean, it turned out okay, but it's sort of different than everything else I made. But who knows, maybe it will come in handy when I finally make that video. Up next, my wife actually showed me how to do more traditional painting, gave me some tips, and showed me how to properly follow the photo references that I take, and I came up with this one. This is I believe it's called a spur-winged plover, or simply a plover in New Zealand. I saw this bird on my first day in New Zealand, and it really caught my eye, and it's actually one of my favorite birds now, so of course I had to paint it. I think it turned out really good, probably the best of my early paintings, and yeah, I just felt like I was making some decent progress when I was painting this. Alright, moving on to the next painting. This is another bird that I saw in New Zealand. I think it's a yellowhammer, but I could be wrong. Yeah, I think it's a yellowhammer. They're not native to New Zealand, but they are there, so, you can see them quite commonly. I like what I did with the foliage in the background here, but the bird itself, I think, might have messed up a little bit on. it did have this weird, like, you can see this like weird shadow in the bird that I painted in. Kind of regret painting it in because I'm not really sure where it's coming from. It's kind of strange. This one, yeah, it was kind of a step back from the previous painting, but the artistic process is not linear, so that's really nothing to worry about. After that painting, I did take a bit of a break because I was visiting Australia, and one of the birds I saw there was the rainbow bee eater. And when I got back, I knew that I had to paint it, especially since the photo that I took of it was a little grainy because it was taken maybe 5 minutes before sunset, so I figured that painting it would remove that downside of late sunset photography. And here it is. I think this one turned out really well. I followed the photograph pretty decently, and although I did struggle with the blue color, it's not the correct blue for the rainbow bee eater, but I still think this turned out really well. And from a distance, when I'm like looking at it in my house, it kind of looks like a photograph. So I'm really happy with how it turned out. And let's move on to the next one. So this last painting here is of a Townsend's warbler. I think I did a decent job with the background here. I really like the rays of light that shine down onto the bird. And I'm also pretty happy with the bird. It's a little longer, I think, than it was in the photograph, so messed up on the proportions a bit, but with, birds, they can change proportions by stretching themselves or whatever, so it's not too big of a deal. I struggled a lot with the flower, but I think I ended up fixing it in the end. In the photo that I actually took, there were a lot more flowers, but I was just tired of drawing them, so I just erased them from existence. I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. And so expect some more of these videos as I learn more about oil painting. We'll do a yearly update like we did with pixel art. There may not be a yearly pixel art this year. We'll see. And of course, I might have to change the name of this channel from Pixel Aquarium to Oil Aquarium, which sounds really bad. So we'll have to think about that. Anyways, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this update, and, subscribe for more videos like this.